Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B-Movies. You know, a lot of you guys will know this already, but for the sake of this review I want to bring it up, that back in the early to mid-2000s there was this new term for a subgenre of horror film that was basically dubbed torture porn. And it basically applied to any movie that came out where the idea behind it is that the fear of pain of going to the main characters was greater than the fear of death. So it wasn't going to be a slasher film necessarily where people just died. It was the idea that they were all going to be tortured and mutilated and probably left alive, when that was far worse. Now, there's some movies that people have been really quick to judge and kind of hit with the torture porn label, like the Saw movies. I don't think the Saw movies are torture porn. I think there's torture sequences, but I think that they're all part of a grander story. I also don't think that movies like Hostel fit, because there's some dark comic elements, there's other stuff going on in those films. It's not just scene after scene after scene of torture like a lot of critics would have you believe. And then there's this piece of shit movie, Neighbor. So Neighbor was directed by Robert A. Mastroiannigamadapia. I don't know. I'm not even going to bother to learn the guy's name because I'm pissed at him. But it's about this girl who's just called The Girl. It's right, it's that dumb. And she's played by America Olivo, who you all remember from one quick topless scene in the remake of Friday the 13th. And basically this girl just goes from house to house torturing and killing people, and that's the movie. I'd like to tell you that there's more to it than that, but there's really nothing to this film. About 80 minutes of this movie is her with this guy that she's trapped in his basement, and she's just torturing him in various ways for 80 straight minutes. The characters don't develop. The story doesn't go anywhere. Nothing happens in this whole fucking movie. This absolute joke of a movie came out in 2009. I saw it back then, and I feel okay giving a review of it now without watching the movie again, because honestly I don't want to watch the movie again. It was actually interesting to me, you know, that once this girl has this guy strapped down to a chair, she, among other things that I can remember, she pins his eyelids open, and she uses a power drill to split all of his toes open, and she at one point puts this really narrow piece of glass into his urethra and snaps it so that his penis rips in two. I'm not kidding, that actually happens in this movie. But these torture scenes are all that make up the film. It's literally, you could watch this film muted and probably get a little more out of it than you do with the sound on, because then you don't have to deal with the really bad dialogue delivered by really bad actors. And you know what? I'm going to say this right now. This is one thing about movies, especially horror movies today, that's really starting to piss me off. But at one point, she has done all this stuff to this guy. He is bleeding out everywhere. And then they're talking. They're talking. They're having a conversation. This guy should be fucking dead. I had the same problem with the new Evil Dead remake, which everyone seems to think is the best thing since sliced bread, but is actually one of the worst horror movies of that year, strictly because they do that a lot. It's like, dude, you should have been dead 20 minutes into this movie. Logistically speaking, you should have been dead 20 minutes into this movie. You do not have nails in your legs, arm, face, your intestines are hanging out, and you're going, it's okay. We're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna save us all. That shit doesn't happen. You're fucking dead. I actually have next to nothing else to say about Neighbor. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and I'm pretty certain it's the absolute worst movie that I've seen since the year 2000 at least. There are some pretty bad ones in the 90s, but I think this one takes the worst movie since the year 2000. Oh my God, this is so bad. A couple of days ago I said I was going to review this movie, and I spent the last couple of days kind of racking my brain trying to think of some positive that I can bring up. I got nothing. I got nothing. This is a horrible movie. This absolute fucking piece of shit gets 0 stars. This is a movie to avoid at all costs. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, Colin hates this movie that much, this must be really controversial. I don't hate it because it's controversial. It's not controversial. I hate it because it's a bad fucking movie. And I really, with every fiber of my being, suggest that you stay as far away from this turd as humanly possible. That's my review of Neighbor that I hope I never have to talk about again. Please stay tuned, I've got a lot more reviews of much better movies coming your way. As always, if there's a horror, action, crime, comedy, any movie that you can think of that was kind of overlooked or that you think not a lot of people talk about or even know about and you'd like to hear my opinion on it, please let me know. Let me know in the comments section and I'll see what I can do about checking out a copy of that movie, getting a review put up for you. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.